Patch 22.2 is right around the corner. I'm gonna break it down for you for Battlegrounds. This is, I think, the biggest patch we've ever had. I feel like I keep saying that every single new patch update, but I mean, this one is just massive. We already know about buddies, but there's a lot of other small changes that are really cool for Battlegrounds. I'm not gonna keep you waiting. Let's just see what the changes are for Battlegrounds and how things are gonna evolve in the future. Important to know, this patch goes live on the 25th, which is 5 days from now if you're watching this whenever it is released. So the Battlegrounds update, first of all, buddies, we already know what buddies are, but this is going to be a two-part video. This first part will be all of the changes, everything that, you know, is going to change in this big patch. And the buddies in specific, I'm going to rate all of them and talk about all of them in the second part of this patch review, because otherwise the video would be way too long. So if you want to see me break down all of the buddies and talk about them, be sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, or just, you know, stick around. Video should be out either later tonight or tomorrow, depending on how fast I am. So the buddy system is massive. Every hero now has a special card. This is completely changing how you play the game, I think. You can only speculate. There is gonna be a pre-release stream, so you can see some streamers play it, which already happened. And by that, you can kind of judge the power level of buddies, which I'll also talk about in the second video. But I think this is gonna open so many doors for so many different game plans. There's a lot of concerns about balancing, about power level raising and stuff like that, but there's no reason to get worried without ever, like, even having tried it out, right? So let's just be calm for now, try and speculate and see how this is gonna affect the game. Then the armor system, this is also pretty big, is going to be deactivated for a little bit while they try out the buddies. As of now, we plan on reactivating the armor system in a later patch once we've reassessed the power levels of heroes with the new buddies. So as soon as things have settled down, they might introduce armor, and maybe this time change around the values a bit, because Gallywix doesn't need armor. Come on, Blizzard. Hero selection has also been extended by 10 seconds for a little bit. This is what they did when there was a new tribe introduced into the game. Quillboars, they also made the turns a little bit longer, so you could have time to see all the cards, read them, because everything is new. So now you have 10 extra seconds to look at your heroes, and I assume you can also see what their buddies are, so you can make a better choice, and you have more time to think about, yeah, what hero you're gonna select. Now this is actually a massive change. The cost to upgrade to Tavern Tier 5 has been increased by 2 gold, so it is more expensive to go to Tier 5. This is a change I never really thought of, or that I've seen other people suggest, but it's a really clean fix of people just power leveling to higher tiers and being really strong. Now going to 5, you can't really do much in the same turn. Normally you can go to 5, sell and buy a card or use your hero power. Now it's like a full commitment. So this could put like a little bit of a break into high rolling. I think this is a really cool change that is just gonna have a positive impact on the game. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I do think it's cool though. Tier 4 is rather good right now, but most tempo comms are also played on Tier 4. Because in Tier 4 you play your max, you play your greasebot scaling, whatever, your major domo stuff. Of course, there's still like elementals, dazzling light, spawn, and avenge, which scales rapidly as well, but you do want to go to higher tiers if you really want to exponentially scale with your Firebats and then your Lil Regs that keeps on going and going. So this is really cool to see, especially since Millhouse, for Millhouse's hero power, Tavern is even more expensive, so the idea of with Millhouse Buddy going to a super high tier and starting to just cycle 5 drops is going to be a lot harder, because Millhouse Buddy gives you a card of the same Tavern tier that you bought. We'll all discuss that in the buddy video. Also on January 25th, so when this patch goes live, there's going to be an MMR reset, so your visual ranking is going to go to 0, but don't sweat, the game does remember your hidden MMR. There's also going to be like a cutoff. If you're above 8k, you get like shrunk down a little bit. But yeah, you'll start at 0, you'll have a bonus until you're somewhat getting close to your MMR of last season, and then you'll have to grind again. I also really like the artwork here, and also both of these buddies I got to reveal, which is pretty sick, the Cookie and the Zephyr's buddy. They're also pretty strong, I think. So every hero has this meter that fills up during combat, either by entering combat, which is this passive gain, by dealing damage to enemies, popping shields, and winning or tying a combat. So you're incentivized to play stronger boards early if you want to fill up your meter. You also get a small bonus each turn for how many minions you have. So going wide is good, and it actually makes tokens even better. I don't know if I like that. It also makes people want to stay down. Power leveling is now super punished. Like, it's more expensive to level to 5. You don't fill up your meter, you have a smaller board, like, you just never get your buddy. This is gonna be very interesting to see. Like, is Warrior Curse still gonna be good? Are people gonna level to tier 2? Can you still power level to tier 3 or do a 4-on-4? 4-on-4 is one of my favorite ways to play the game that might actually just be killed, which is very sad. I love a good old power level and try to make strong stuff work on higher tiers. So I think this kind of killed that concept, unless we don't know yet how quickly your meter fills. So maybe if you just lose every fight but then stabilize, maybe you get your buddy 1 turn later, that would be acceptable for power leveling, right? Or 2 turns later, maybe you play a hero where the buddy isn't as impactful anyway, or you want to find it later, doesn't matter. I'm scared that this is just gonna, you know, give everything into one single play style, which is staying down and playing strong boards, and then, you know, snowballing that instead of being able to use your health as a resource, level aggressively. Again, we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm just speculating right now, but I think 4 and 4 will just not see too much play, sadly. Also important to know that if you have a buddy from a lower tavern tier, it will be easier to obtain than one from a higher tier. So if you have a tier 4 buddy, you will have to fill up your meter a bit more than if you have a tier 2 buddy, so that nobody runs away with the game. That is a pun. Yeah, fill the first section, you get 1 copy. Fill the second section, you get 2 copies, which if you have your copy still on the board, they combine into a triple. The new hero, Brukan, this was revealed by RDU, I think, so you can just hero power for 0 gold and discover 4 elements. These elements are start of combat effects. The first one is Fire Invocation, start of combat, double your leftmost minion's attack. So if you have a cleave, double the attack, or if you have a cyclone or whatever. It is not permanent, it's just for 1 turn, obviously, that would be kind of broken. Then you have Lightning Invocation, start of combat, deal 1 damage to 5 random enemy minions. Kind of like old, what's it called, Nefarian, so you just have a ghoul, basically. You just deal 1 damage to your opponent's board, pop some shields. I think this will be most used in the late game. It just is a Divine Shield popper, which is pretty good, so I think this is a great tech option. Earth Invocation, start of combat, give 4 friendly minions death rattle summon a 1/1 elemental. Seems kind of bad, maybe early on for tempo. It's better than these others early on. Maybe... I don't really see it being used. Or if you're playing Avenge, I guess. If you have an early Dazzling Light spawn, Witchwing, sure. I guess then it's good, right? Water Invocation, start of combat, give your rightmost minion +3 health and taunt. Why? I don't see the purpose of this. I guess if you have no taunt, you can taunt your rightmost minion. The +3 health early, it's a little bit of tempo. I don't see that actually being used too much. So I don't think this is that strong. Like late game, you just double your minion's attack for 0 gold, but it kind of reminds me of old Professor Putra's side, which was a hero with a 1 gold hero power that just gave your leftmost minion like +10 attack or something. Of course, that's way worse than this, but not good. But the reason why this hero might be decent is because of the buddy that it gets, which remembers all of these hero powers. I'll talk about this buddy again in a buddy video, but the buddy is what this hero is designed for, because it remembers every hero power that you played if it's on the board as a death rattle. So it dies, and if you play it like 3 turns in a row, this one it's gonna do that 3 times. I still don't think that makes it good. I still think this hero will be rather weak. I know RDU said this was going to be a meta breaker and insanely good, and other people have been hyping it as well, but I just don't see the hero power having a massive impact except for the 1 damage late game, and I don't see the buddy actually being that amazing either. Again, that's just my take. Feel free to agree to disagree. Draktar is from Aliens. There's like an Aliens and a Horde hero. 0 gold hero power, choose a friendly minion. It copies the attack of your highest attack minion for the next combat only. It's just like a worse Vol'jin. Like you have to have a really high attack card on your board, let's say a Chroma Wing, and then you just hero power that and hero power a cleave, and then your cleave has high attack, but it's only for 1 turn, that's it, and you have to keep the Chroma Wing on the board. As Vol'jin, you can just hero power your Chroma Wing, put that attack onto the cleave permanently, and then sell it off, and that's better. I think this is just a worse version, because you have to do this every single turn over and over again. You have to keep a high attack card on the board, and yeah, I don't know, because it's not permanent and you have to keep some high attack card on the board. Sure, if your entire board is big and you just have a big chunky board that you're gonna keep, yeah, it's good to put that attack onto something as well, but I don't think it is good enough as a hero power. Also, quickly, I'll talk about the buddy. The buddy is Avenge 2, give your minions, I think, +1 attack. Now, that's okay. If you have like early max, if you have Pubots or Deflectobots, sure, it is pretty good. Just because it's Avenge and it's permanent scaling as well, it's not for the fight only, I think. So giving your cards plus attack so much early on with mechs is insane. So if you're in a tempo meta, I think that might justify picking this hero if it's a mech meta. Other than that, maybe not. Like, we know how broken Arm was, right? You needed to have like taunted Divine Shield, so you don't even need that with this. You just play as a couple Acolytes. You do have to play your buddy, which is a neutral, But yeah, I'll go more in depth into the buddy in that video just so you know what this buddy does. And I think the hero isn't amazing, but maybe the buddy will justify picking it. And then Vandar Stormpike. Wait, I said this is Alliance and this is Horde, but now I'm not sure. I'm really bad with lore, okay? Vandar Stormpike also has a 0-cost hero power. Basically the inverse, it's the highest health minion. So you target something like a Battle Master, target something like a Spore, and suddenly your Spore has a lot of HP. Again, Vol'jin. With Vol'jin, you can permanently just put that onto the Spore, sell the Battle Master. You don't want to keep a Battle Master on board just to give the health onto something else. I feel like this is again just, yeah, very impractical. It's like more of a tempo-ish hero power. You can think of like Targosatrix's stuff like Vol'jin, but then Vol'jin is still better at that. I guess this is slightly better at doing it because you don't have to swap the health, but you keep the highest health total. It's a little bit better at that strategy. But other than that, I don't really see too many applications for this that are super good. The buddy once again does the same. It's Avenge 2, but now gives +1 HP, I think. So that is pretty good. Health is really good in the early game on cards in general. So being able to permanently scale up health is decent. Now the only like counterproductive thing is if you give everything more health, your Avenge is harder to trigger. But that's, I mean, that's a luxury problem that you have. I still think the buddy is probably slightly better than this on just a random general board. But if you're playing Divine Shields, then obviously this is a lot better. Or if you're playing a Cleave. So maybe actually I prefer the attack more on the buddy, but I prefer the health more on the hero power. We have to see it in practice. I might also be meta dependent. Anyway, I also don't think this is an amazing hero. I think both heroes are okay. They're going to be like tier 2, tier 3. They're not going to be tier 1. That is my bold assumption. Same with this one, Brukan. And then we have Tavish, who is this really interesting hero. This was revealed by Bofer. Deadeye, so they also have a 0-cost hero power that has 4 options. Aim left, it just shoots damage to the leftmost minion. Aim low to your lowest health minion of your opponent. High to the highest health. And right to the rightmost. And the attack scales up every turn. So turn 1 it's 1 damage, then it goes to 2 damage, 3 damage, and so forth. And in the late game it deals like what, 14 damage or something. So you can play around this. You just make sure that left you just put a selfless. If he aims left, he hits your selfless. If he aims low, he hits your selfless. If he aims high, I mean, you're gonna deal 14 damage to like a 100 HP minion. And if they aim right, you can also play around it. Just put whatever on the right side. So I don't know. It's a really good early tempo card. Like you can snipe a lot of stuff early. You can get rid of like brands on the board that deal maybe 5 more damage, so you can save yourself a lot of damage. It's good, it's flexible, but in the late game, I don't think it's gonna be amazing just because it seems rather easy to play around. But again, maybe people won't play around it, or maybe it's hard to predict what is gonna happen. So I think it's a fun hero. I think it is probably a little bit better than these just because you have such better early tempo and you can actively like reduce your damage that you take, and you actually could counter opponents if they don't play around it. Like if they play a beast comp and you aim low and you hit their Baron, most of the time it's probably gonna hit their Mercado, but they can again just play something else. I don't know. This person's buddy was, I think, a crab or something, a beast, and whenever you use your hero power, it's gonna put those stats onto adjacent cards, not permanently. So let's say it's turn 8 and you use your hero power, it's gonna give your adjacent cards +8/+8 for the turn. So it's good tempo, really good tempo. It's also a beast. And with Targosas, it's permanent. So it's a better promo Drake essentially then, because you don't have to fill your board with dragons to get scaling. And it should scale up more, I think. But that's about it. The buddy doesn't really do much late game. I think just like the others, it's going to be about like tier 2 maybe, something like that. I don't think any of the new heroes are extremely broken. Now some hero updates as well. Alexstrasza's odds for tier 6 dragons are no longer reduced. So you can find Kalecgos and Mini Amalgadon, those are the only two, a bit more consistently. Now, I mean consistently, you still are very unlikely to hit them, but you can hit them. While I've never had an Alexstrasza seen hitting a Kalecgos in like months. So maybe Alex is gonna be a bit more fun to play now because there's more high roll potential. HysteriA also has like a very weird line where Bob Sevens no longer counts as being refreshed at the start of your turn if no new minions are added. So I think if you freeze, you don't get a new dragon into that shop because you didn't refresh the shop. That's my interpretation of this. George the Fallen, so hero power now reads give a minion divine shield, and this was done so you can hero power minions in the shop. I thought about it, but I'm wondering what Why would you hero power a minion and shop with George? If you can figure it out, please let me know in the comments below. I have no clue what the benefit is. The only benefit is if you have 2 gold left, you level, you have 2 gold. Instead of selling and buying a card, you could just hero power the card in shop and then just buy it the next turn. But even that doesn't make that much sense. Other people said you can hero power in a Mulligadon and then play it so it already has a Divine Shield. But I don't want to do that. I just want to play my Dong and it could get a shield on its own and you don't have to waste 2 gold. You increase your ult slightly on hitting poison, I think, but still. Also important to note is that Kaltas, Sylas, and Shanvala are temporarily disabled because there were some bugs they found very late in testing. But those heroes are not gone, they will be added back in a future update. Now, Minion Pool, they just changed Battle Master. Now the text reads gain +1 health for each health your hero is missing. So there's no functional change, it was mainly because of armor, the wording had to change a little bit. While editing this video, I also noticed in the reveal streams that there is now Battlegrounds ranks being displayed in the friend list. So this wasn't featured here in this section of the patch notes. I think it might be down below with the bug fixes, but that is pretty pog, so look out for that as well. Alright, that's it for the patch notes. So the biggest thing is buddies, and then also the new heroes, a little bit of changes. Now there is no nerfs or buffs as far as I'm aware, which come on, we'll see how impactful the changes are. So last time, I remember people complaining about no buffs or nerfs as well when we got, I think, the new tribe or like a massive update. And people were like, oh no, this is so bad, everything is still broken. But everything was balanced out, everything was fine just because the power level increased and things were actually weak. Good example is Quillboars. Like Quillboars when they got released were absolutely broken, right? Then they got nerfed, and right now we got so many changes, they had to buff Quillboars twice. They're now at the same power level that they were when released, and they're still weak. So maybe all of these changes will make Avenge way worse, because also if you play Avenge, you're less likely to get your hero power done, because you have to play weaker boards to mill cards, of course. And maybe tripling into 4s isn't that great anymore. We'll see how things play out. I want to see the positive, that's why I'm mentioning this, but I am actually really sad to not see any changes to tokens, to Avenge, to some broken interactions and stuff still, to Shadow Walk, to some heroes. Yeah, I think they really had to at least look at those, or at least mention why you don't change them, like if the buddy system is going to have a massive impact. But I also read that they're going to quickly do updates, or like they're going to carefully watch this update, see how things evolve, and gonna do, of course, some patches if things do seem overpowered. Alright, I'll see you in part 2 where I talk about the buddies. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day.